Tonight, we put 5 more Cougars under the microscope, beginning with linebacker Payton Wilgar, a sophomore out of St. George, made 12 starts last year, led the team with 3 interceptions, including this one on that grand day against 24th-ranked USC, David. And here's where we saw his ability to stretch out and catch.
100%. I mean, we talked about Zach Wilson coming along on the opposite side of the ball. I think Payton Wilgar is going to be the playmaker here on the defense side of the ball. We've heard great things about him coming out of camp. And this is why. This is a play against USC where he has trips to his left. He understands that with the number 3 receiver, the inside receiver does a shallow dig that typically means the number 2 receiver is going to set up as a hook right there because you're trying to provide spacing. So knowing that, look at his eyes. He gets his eyes back to the quarterback. He feels number 2 settle. He expands with the big interception just to understand the game as a freshman, which is the baffling part.
Now to the Toledo game. Blaney comes up with another interception in the first quarter.
The thing that I love about Wilgar, so we're just going to be watching 49 a lot this year. Right from the get-go, when Dave Nixon and I start watching film, Dave says to me, man, this kid is going to be really, really special. I asked Dave, you know backers better than anybody, why is that? And he goes, because of his natural feel for the game.
We turn our attention to Tyler Algiere, who's having a great fall camp. The sophomore from Fontana, California, played in all 13 games last year. Blaine seeing time on both offense and defense. He shows off his speed here at UMass.
Yeah, and remember, he's been back and forth from one side of the ball to the other, but not this year. He's full-time at running back, and he has been one of the most surprising, pleasant surprises in fall camp. Worked hard in the offseason, and he's a big, strong, physical guy that understands how to get downhill. So as he's running the football, he'll get the ball or catches it on a screen. He'll look for that one seam, and when he sees that crease, it's full speed downhill. And that's what you want out of a running back, especially his size. And he's a punishing finisher on runs. You hit him, that's like coming up to tackle a bag of 80-pound cement.
Junior receiver Gunnar Romney out of Chandler, Arizona. And who can forget this touchdown catch? Thrown from his older brother Baylor against Utah State. This is one of the great moments of the season, Blaine.
I loved Romney to Romney was a big deal, and rightly so. They come together. The reason that Baylor came is because he wanted to play with Gunnar, and how good is this that he gets to throw a touchdown pass to his brother in the Utah State game and get a win. Gunnar is a big target, a long guy that can create mismatches, but when I say he's a big target, he runs like a wide receiver. So he's got good speed, he's got a great vertical jump. He just happens to be 6'3 plus, right? And so he can create all kinds of mismatches on the outside for BYU this year. He just continues to get better throughout his career, and I think he's going to have a big, big impact this season for the Cougars.
You think of these guys growing up on the side yard throwing touchdowns to each other, and then they get to do it at this college level on the road.
This is a front yard type throw. It's only like a 10-yard throw. Yeah. I mean, he's in motion coming towards him. He knows that his receiver's going to be downfield blocking because it's a legal throw because he's throwing behind him.
And on the defensive side, 6'1", 300-pound sophomore Atunaisa Mahe out of West Jordan, Utah, may have something to say about it.
And he was one of those pleasant surprises last year. We're wondering about depth on that D-line, and he came in and played really well. And he's the perfect nose, the guy to play inside, where he's 6'1". He gets up underneath offensive linemen with great leverage. He's got really solid lower body strength. Here we see good lateral movement, and then see how he's underneath the offensive lineman right there in the middle and is able to come in and make the sack. Once he gets up and under those offensive linemen and gets into their pads, then he's tough to stop because of that great leg strength. He's
just a big bowling ball. And at 6'1", you're right, he's not a huge body. Typically those nose tackles are a little smaller. Defensive ends tend to be a little taller. But right here, Mahe has fantastic hands. We saw in the last play, and this play in particular too, I think he makes up for his size with his hands. And that's what it's all about being a defensive lineman. You got to have fantastic hands, get the offensive lineman back on their heels, use your hands to get rid of them, and create separation. But right here, you watch him.
Explosion, Dave.
The stud, he just takes that tackle and just puts him on his butt. I mean, and that's what you need. Get up underneath the pads, the offensive lineman, blow him back, create some lanes of separation, and you get to the ball. But look at him.
I don't want to say that guy's name because that's
just picked off the tackle.
That's just
puts him on his butt.
Think about film room on that one at Utah State.
Jackson McChesney played in 3 games last year, which was his redshirt season. Freshman from Alpine, Utah, has 4 years to play. And he came into this UMass game, Blaine, and he took off, and we're like, where's this guy been? He's been on a mission.
Yeah, that's what I'll tell you. Like, and this is no disrespect, and this isn't maybe an overstatement. That's just a fat return missionary right there.
At least that's what he said.
He even said, "Oh, I'm not close to my normal speed yet," and his body, like, he looks great right now. Like, he is fit, and he is lean, and he is strong, and he's got his speed back. And this is him at 3/4 speed. Remember, this is a guy that's a sprinter in high school, one of the top sprinters in the state of Utah, that can run sub-11 flat in the 100 meters and playing running back. And he's a strong guy with low pad level that runs low to the ground. And we can expect big things from him. And the reason he didn't play after this is Kalani and that staff didn't want to have to play him last year. They had to play him because they thought it was an injury risk.
He rushed 15 times for a school freshman record 228 yards against the Minutemen. David, he gets 62 right here. Now, this is UMass, and they were awful. But there's not one kid on that UMass defense that spent 2 years on a church mission leading up to this game, and he ran right through him.
Ran right through him and pulling away from the DBs. I mean, listen, we talked about Tyler Algiere earlier, who is nice to have a 3rd and 1, a kind of a bigger back that can get you extra yard. But it's also huge to have a scat back, a quick guy that can change the pace on a defense like Jackson McChesney. And he does a great job of getting out in the open, reading his blocks, being patient. We've seen that in the past with some BYU running backs who, Jamal Williams, I think back to Jamal, he wasn't a burner. He wasn't a speedster guy like McChesney, but he was patient. Same thing with McChesney. We see him here, very patient, allows his blocks to be set up, and then follows his blockers to the hole. And when he gets out in the open, we can see right here, he runs away from defenders.